remember it fondly, this summer of '92. It began in the West in the last days of spring when a young man's fancy turns to racing. Southern California's Siren Song lured the Saturday Night Thunder team to Ventura by the sea. We added to our dirt track scrapbook the excitement of the last lap pass. Ventura's a bull ring. It's race driver turned rodeo cowboy, Frank Pedregon. Whoa, Buck, down the backstretch. In-your-face racing started here. Wally Pancratz takes a shot, and Sleepy failed to make the trip to TV Victory Lane, though he's won everything since. As warm weather moved to the Midwest, we moved with it, leaving behind the hair-raising hijinks of the dirt track for the more predictable pavement competition, or so we thought. IRP, Indianapolis Raceway Park, added abundantly to the highlight reel, with accompaniment by Bruce Roby, ting, 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 on the xylophone. We've seen great performances by great drivers. Keeker on the bottom with the late pass. Coletta with 4 in a row. 4-time champ Butler with his first win of the year. And in the Olympic year, Saccone going for the long jump record. Through 16 weeks, our admiration for the local heroes has grown. Tonight, we close the scrapbook and salute them one last time. They have big hearts and a whole lot of horsepower, brave souls, and the will to win. They are the local heroes, and they live for Saturday night. Ah, yes, indeed. The summer of '92. The good news is it has been spectacular, and it will live forever in our memories. The bad news is it all ends here tonight at Indianapolis Raceway Park, but it ends in style with the USAC Midget Series Pavement Nationals. Weatherman's thrown us a bit of a curve. No hot summer night tonight. Indeed, 68 degrees under cloudy skies, a northwest breeze, and they're talking about a 50% chance of rain here tonight. But I didn't bring my umbrella, ladies and gentlemen. I'm confident we're going to get it in with no problem. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. For 16 weeks, nothing in the week has been more excitement for me than looking forward to Saturday Night Thunder. Tonight, that changes a little bit. I look forward to this one with a little sadness in my heart because this is going to wrap it up for the '92 season. I will tell you this, though. We're going to wrap it up in spectacular fashion. The Pavement Nationals, with 3 big races, a unique format, will kick it off with the 10-lap race of champions. Fast qualifiers and race winners, 10 drivers, 10 laps, $10,000 in total prize money. Then it's on to the 20-lap B main that will qualify the bulk of the field for tonight's feature, the top 18 cars eligible to move up. And we'll wrap it up with a 50-lap main event, 26 cars, and it'll pay $5,000 to win. So I think you'll agree we've got a very impressive way to wrap up the season here. And speaking of impressive, remember the name Dan Drinan. Consistent on the dirt, consistent on the pavement. Very impressive last week in Colorado, and with a second-place finish out there, Drinan has taken the point lead from Kenny Irwin Jr., who held it from the very outset of this season. And adding to that, the fact that Kenny Irwin has blown an engine tonight could be a big night for Dan Drinan. Now, you talk about sadness. This is the last time this year that I get to introduce the Gary and Larry Show. Our Saturday Night Thunder anchor, Gary Lee, and 3-time USAC champ, Larry Rice. Guys?
Thanks, Dave. Hi, everybody. Larry Rice. If you're going to be competitive and win a race at Raceway Park, tonight's the night to do it because there's just a ton of prize money.
It sure is. If a driver wins the Race of Champions, the feature, and all the point money that's up from Wins and Clark and Simpson and all those guys, over $11,000 at stake. That's not the real prize. Bill Simpson has promised to name his newest baby llama after the winner. That's the real prize.
Hey, don't make fun of that. You don't have an animal named after you. Some of the drivers to look for, well, the fast qualifier last night, Mike Bliss, with car problems this evening, and also Stevie Reeves.
Well, Mike Bliss has come on very strong. He's been really tough the last few weeks. But without that car that he's been driving of Potter's, it's going to be very tough for him tonight. Stevie Reeves, on the other hand, is in a very familiar car, the Lewis car. I think he's going to be tough to beat.
But how about the 7-time Midget King, 59-year-old Mel Kenyon? He qualified 7th quick last night with the inverted start. He would start outside the front row, and there he is right there.
Well, he's got to be the sentimental favorite. He was very good in this race last year, awfully competitive. He's won a couple of races here in this Midwest here recently, and I think starting on the front row, it's going to be a tough guy to pass.
Well, Racing Fate. Some of these drivers in the Race of Champions have had some car trouble, and they're taking on some strange rides.
Yes, they're taking on some tough rides, and it's an advantage for the guys who have their regular rides, a real disadvantage for those guys in new cars.
Well, Dave, you may have that director's chair with your name on it down there, but it's so breezy. We're going to go down and be comfortable in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, I'm a little envious of you tonight, guys. It's chilly here in Indianapolis. One quick note that Mike Fedorchik and Stan Fox will carry the onboard cameras here tonight. We're going to give you a spectacular 2 hours of racing action as we wrap up the 1992 Saturday Night Thunder season with the Pavement Nationals here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The cars are on the grid, and we're just about ready to go. Saturday Night Thunder is brought to you by First Brands Corporation, makers of STP oil treatment. And by GMC Trucks, the strength of experience. And by Autolite Spark Plugs, guaranteed for 2 years no matter how far you go. We'll be back with the action of the Pavement Nationals after this timeout.
Welcome back to the Clark Oil Pavement Nationals from Indianapolis Raceway Park, and we now are pushing off the cars that will be involved in our Race of Champions. 10 cars, 10 laps for $10,000, and one driver is missing. He is here this evening but not racing, and that, of course, is Jimmy Keeker, who was injured a week ago in a sprint car accident, broke his wrist. He'll be out of action for about 8 weeks. They did not opt to add somebody to the field, Larry. They're going to leave a vacant spot.
Right, I think they decided to leave that vacant spot in honor of Jim. I mean, he's been very tough. He's been a great competitor out here all year long, and they just didn't feel like it'd be fair to put somebody else in there. He is here tonight. I saw him walking around down the pits, and maybe Dave can catch up with him a little later.
Yeah, that was tough because he was leading the Silver Crown point standings. We saw him win twice here this season on ESPN, both in the sprint car and the Silver Crown division, but he'll be out for about 8 weeks. And there's a look at Danny Drynan. That is a car of his own design, a Pontiac power plant, built by George Tucker, number 33, and right behind is number 9, and that is Stan Fox. Stan, we've not seen Stan that much this season.
Well, Stan, the man's been very busy. I mean, he races a lot of cars all over the country, and but he is always tough when he gets back in a midget. He went to Belleville. He hasn't run that much, but he ran very, very good out there, and that's a tough, tough place.
You want to know where Keeker is right now? Keeker's driving the pace car. That's him in the red jacket right there. But I understand, I don't know exactly how this works. He's got one arm all in a sling. We'll find out about that later. I understand Keeker's working the wheel. Somebody else is working the pedals. I hope it's a clean start.
Well, that's one way to do it, Dave. I don't know.
We have a driver and a riding mechanic in the pace car. Well, once again, $10,000 up for grabs, $4,000 to the winner. And the reason they're waiting to push off some of these cars is because obviously weight is a factor, and they're using as little fuel as possible at 7 gallons or 7 pounds per gallon as we take a look there from the cage cam on Stan Fox's car.
Yes, it's 7 pounds per gallon. They don't want to run any more fuel than they have to. Most of these guys are probably running 5, 6, maybe 7 gallons of fuel. That's still 50 extra pounds. And believe me, everything is at stake when you're running 10 laps for $10,000. They want every advantage they can get.
So look at the Steve Lewis Performance VHT. We have a couple of guys that have switched cars. We mentioned that Mike Bliss had a car problem. He qualified fast with the Potter V6 last night, and he had to go to a backup car. As we take a look now at the starting lineup, they drew Pease out of the hat. Now remember, these are all past winners or fast qualifiers during the season here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. And from the luck of the draw, Kenny Irwin will start inside row 1. He has taken over the car that Barry Reed normally drives. That's the 16 EC with a Buick power plant because it has Buick head on it. And Doug Coletta outside 22K. We've seen Doug win a couple of times here on ESPN this season. Then Mike Bliss has taken over the 9L car. That's actually the car that Stan Fox drove to 4th place at Belleville last week. Dan Drynan in his own creation in 33 outside the 2nd row. In the 3rd row on the inside, there he is, a 7-time champion, Mel Kenyon. He could be a factor not only in this race, but also the 50-lap feature this evening. And outside, Stan Fox in number 9. In the 4th row, Kenneth Nichols in the AL81 car. Russ Gamester, a past USAC national titleist, in 46. And in the 5th row, we have Mike Stryker, the defending champion, in number 1. And once again, the driver of the pace car is Jim Keeker. He was to have been in this, but again, the wreck last week has sidelined him.
Yeah, they did good. For the right 10 guys are on the racetrack. One of them just happens to be in the pace car, right? But
and he will be granted 10th position, which I think pays $2,500.
Right. That's going to be interesting to see how quickly Kenny Irwin adapts to this car. He's had a few laps in it, but I really don't think, you know, a guy
gets a race car to fit like a shoe. He gets used to one. He knows it. He really likes how it feels and everything about it. Getting into a new race car is a little bit tougher. That gives Doug Coletta a big advantage starting on the outside of the front row. He knows his race car. He's been fast here all year long, so he should be able to get the jump.
Drivers have good memories. Last time we were here, Doug got a little bump on the backside by Danny Drynan, and Danny's starting in behind him tonight.
Well, yes, but that's not going to be the point at hand right now. Doug Coletta will remember that if Drynan gets around him. But I tell you,
well, that's when he remembers it.
It's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to get around Doug Coletta from that front row starting position.
We could talk strategy, Larry Rice, but there isn't strategy. Just go for it.
That's
10
it.
laps, you don't have time for strategy.
There's no strategy at all. Everybody's got on softest tires they can run that are available to them. There's only 10 laps. They're going to go for broke. And really, there is no strategy. You're exactly right. If you see an opening, a slight opening, you have to go for it right then. There's no time to wait and try to have somebody else make a mistake.
On a chilly night with the temperature 68 and the wind chill index well below that, the fans rise to salute these 9 drivers and also Jim Keeker in the pace car. And we should go green perhaps the next time by for 10 laps and $10,000. This is actually a good night weather-wise for the drivers. There is some moisture in the air, good for the engines. It's cool for the engines, and the drivers aren't that uncomfortable with the driving suits and the Nomex because it is cool out there.
That's right. It's good for the engines. They run better. The drivers, I don't know, drivers get so intense, concentrate so hard, I don't think it really plays that big a factor unless it's awfully, awfully, awfully hot, which it isn't tonight. Mike Stryker, by the way, elected to start last in this race, Gary. He's not feeling real well after a crash a couple of weeks ago, so he elected to start back there.
All right, we should get the green this time by. Kenny Irwin Jr. will lead the parade off the corner, sets the pace. The green flag is out. We are underway. The race of champions, 10 cars, actually 9 now. For 10 laps, it's $10,000 on the high side. It's almost 3 wide as we ride with Stan Fox off the second corner down the back stretch, and Doug Coletta leads the parade.
What did you see, Bliss? What a start he got from the inside of that second row, and he almost, they're throwing the yellow flag. They didn't like the fact that Mike Bliss got a pretty good run up there. But I tell you what, he did get an awfully good start, and I didn't think he really jumped the start. I just thought he got a good, clean start. He pulled out of line before he got to the starting line, knowing maybe that's what they didn't seem to like.
Well, Bill Carey pointed the yellow flag to Mike Bliss to say, don't do that again. Let's watch again the replay now inside row 2.
The white car on the inside of row 2, right there. He drops down before they get to the starting line. And look at this. He's almost 3 abreast as they cross the starting line. That was an awfully good start. I guess it was a little worse than I thought it was the first time because he had a big jump on this guy.
You talk about drivers getting acclimated to their own car. This is the same kind of car. He drives a Beast chassis. This is a Beast chassis that he's in. Obviously, that helps a bit.
Plus the fact that a really good race car driver can set a race car up in a fairly short period of time if it's got all the components. And we know that 9 car's got all the components, so it should be easy.
We actually have 2 9 cars in the race. The first 9 car on the inside. Oh, a little contact there. And Stan Fox is in the wall. Stan Fox hard into the wall. And you were riding with him as it happened. There is Fox moving around in the cockpit. He climbs out. Heavy damage to the Steve Lewis performance racing car. We were riding with Stan Fox, the veteran out of Wisconsin. He is okay, but how many times this season have we seen him walk away in disgust because of an accident?
He is a very, very unhappy individual right now. What happened on that start was Kenny Irwin was unused to this race car. You saw guys go around him on both sides, and as he went into the corner, he didn't, I don't know whether he really moved up, but Stan Fox and he got together, put Stan into the fence very hard. And, you know, I think it was a case of Irwin not really being familiar with that 16 car, and it was really an unfortunate situation for Stan Fox. Look at that thing. It's
extensive damage. That is the coil car. That is the pavement car built by Bob East in his shop here in Indianapolis, the Beast chassis. Now, they elected to let Stevie Reeves go with the coil car, with the torsion bar car, which is the dirt car that Stan drove so successfully at Belleville. Let's look once again. Call it, Larry.
Okay, we see Fox down here. We see Danny Drynan right in front of him. And watch the blue car, the very first car up there. You see Drynan go around him on the right side. You see Bliss go around him on the left side. Not very much room, but the car did not take off, or he wasn't used to it, whatever. But he went into the corner. He touched wheels. That's what happened. And really, Danny Drynan went down, touched his wheel. He went up into Fox, and at that point, he or Fox, neither one had anything that they could do. Danny Drynan pulled right down across the front of him. So
now you can see why the drivers wear the tethers on the helmet and neck braces. You saw that whip in the helmet area from the in-car camera shot.
Yeah, boy, that's really an unfortunate situation. That was just a position where there were too many race cars. There were 3 race cars going 3 abreast into that first corner, and there just wasn't enough room for everybody. As they got to the corner, everybody seemed to be entering the corner okay, but Dryden just entered a little bit lower and went right down across the front end of Kenny Irwin. And Kenny Irwin hit him, went right up in front of Stan Fox. And look at this. This is almost identical to the way he hit the fence. Ooh, boy, he really got up in the air right there. Thank goodness for good safety fences.
Yeah, he did go over. He did go over. Right on top of the cage. That's why we have the roll cage. We've had the roll cage since about 1969. Kenny Irwin is very unhappy. He's back. Now, remember the altercation I talked about before? And you said he'll remember it if this happens? Look at this altercation right now. We saw Irwin, and I didn't make the comment, but he looked very unhappy when he climbed out of that race car, and he walked right back to Dryden and talked to Dryden. Let's take a look again. You're saying Dryden moved over and actually tagged the right corner of Irwin.
Well, you know, as I said, there's 3 abreast going into the corner. It just isn't room enough to go 3 abreast into the corner. Danny Dryden is up there in no man's land. He almost hit the fence going down the straightaway. As you come down here, he obviously cut down and hit Irwin. I mean, there's no question about that. Whether Irwin should have been out of the gas and tried to avoid him, whether he could have anticipated that, we don't know. I don't know whether he should have anticipated that or not. But Danny Dryden clearly cut down and clipped his wheel. Boy, oh boy.
What a way to start our evening here at Indianapolis Raceway Park with the Clark Oil Pavement Nationals. This, of course, is to be the 10-lap race of champions for drivers that have either won or set quick time this evening. And we haven't gone too far, so we have a lot of racing coming your way. So stay with us from Indianapolis Raceway Park.
We are back at the Pavement Nationals, and we are off to a wild start at Indianapolis Raceway Park. A tangle in turn 1 on the restart of this 10-lapper for 9 cars that pays $10,000 in total prize money. And as you can see, no smile on the face of Kenny Irwin. Let's start with your story, Kenny. From your perception, we'll get another look at this, and you can take a look and tell us what happened.
Well, I don't know. I felt like that me and Coletta had a good start, and on the outside, you had carry more momentum through turn 1, and so he got past, and Dryden, I seen Dryden. I was staying down on the track, and I felt like that he come down, and when he did, I mean, we can kind of see it here. I just felt like he just kept coming down on the track, and when he did, it just put Stan Fox right in the wall. I don't know. I just feel like that maybe, I don't know. I don't want anybody saying that it, you know, it's a new car and I wasn't ready, because that really wasn't the case. I felt like that we were driving it as good as it could be driven, and you know, just I was not given any racing room, I think.
You guys are in the middle of a championship battle. He's just taken the point lead away. Is that a factor here at all, do you think? Are you guys both on edge to beat each other?
Well, I sure hope not. I mean, I would hope that a competitor wouldn't do that, but I don't know. I guess you never know. We're out there to race and give 110%, and you know, I guess things like this happen sometimes.
Where does this leave you now? You've blown up your car. Now you've crashed the backup car. Do you have any options left for the 50-lapper?
I probably not. We'll probably sit out and watch the race.
Bad news for the man who has led the championship standings through most of this season, but good news for the guy over here on the other side. He has already changed clothes because he's got some more work to do this weekend. Stan Fox, however it started, you certainly took the wildest ride. Are you okay?
Well, this is a Wild West sport, you know, and that's the second time in a row I've just been a victim of circumstances down there, and we tore the hell out of another race car, and we're going to head up to Michigan and run the Winston Cup race tomorrow. Hopefully have some better luck for the Carrier air conditioning people.
You might want to move around here and take another look at the ride that you've just had here. Actually, we had to drag him out of the men's room. Here you go, up and over. What goes through your mind when that thing leaves the ground?
I just was hoping I didn't hurt myself. You know, I want to run tomorrow. I shouldn't even be down here doing this. We're just, you know, we figured we'd come down and try to run this thing. We won it last year, the Nationals, and, you know, here we are, we're heading back.
Well, let's talk about why we had to drag him out of the restroom. That probably deserves a qualification here. You're going to jump in the airplane and go back up to Michigan. You got a pretty busy weekend. You're going to run the stock car up there tomorrow. I certainly hope that this is not going to set the tone for things. How's that going up there?
Well, we got everything out of our system. We're qualified good for the race in the Carrier car, and we're just, we're going to start tomorrow and try to run all day and do a good show. So, and a little better luck than tonight, hopefully.
Well, we certainly hope so. We'll let you go. I know you got a plane to catch, Stan. I'm glad to see that you're A-OK. He will hop in the airplane and head back to Michigan International Speedway, but we will have a new champion of the 50-lapper here tonight at the Pavement Nationals. Stan Fox is out. Be right back. Tomorrow afternoon, live on ESPN, complete flag-to-flag coverage of NASCAR's Champion Spark Plug 400 from Brooklyn, Michigan. We'll bring you up to date on Stan Fox's progress after a rough start here tonight at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Stock cars tomorrow, live on ESPN. And so as we prepare for the restart of this 10-lap race of champions, once again, Gary and Larry.
Well, as we start to deplete the field, Larry, it makes it easier for somebody to win.
Boy, it sure does make it easier for somebody to win. It's only 7 cars left. Mike Stryker isn't feeling real well, so that leaves about 6 guys that really look like they have a chance to win the race. And it really helps a guy like Kenneth Nichols, who was to start back in row 4, and now he's starting 5th instead of 7th or 8th. And a guy like Mike Bliss now will start on the front row next to Doug Coletta. This is going to be very interesting going into turn 1.
There's a look at Danny Dryden, the white 33 car. Right behind him in the maroon number 22 is Doug Coletta. And Dan has been so consistent this season. He's been tweaking that chassis that he built. And, of course, the Pontiac power plant providing the horsepower. And when there's a look at the white number 9, that's the sister car, basically, in the Steve Lewis Performance Racing VHT stable. And that is Mike Bliss out of Milwaukee, Oregon. Now, Mike has made the commitment to fly back and forth every weekend to race here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. He was fast qualifier last night. In the change of format, they qualified last evening. After he qualified, he went out and practiced this evening, lost the power plant in the Potter V6 Chevrolet, so Steve Lewis said, okay, hop into my beast.
Yes, and it, you know, and just judging from that one corner that we did see him running that car, he's very comfortable with that race car. So with him starting next to Doug Coletta on the front row, it should be a real dog race, shootout, whatever you want to call it, going into turn 1. And don't forget, Kenyon and Dryden are right behind him, and they're not going to give anything away either.
Well, as we take a look now shortly at the midget point standings, we talked about Kenny Irwin being so consistent all season long, but just in the past couple of weeks, Danny Dryden has overtaken him, leaving the youngster Kenny Irwin in 2nd, then Stevie Reeves 3rd, Mike Stryker, defending champion, is 4th, and Kenneth Nichols rounding out the top 5. In the second 5, we have Doug Coletta with 4 wins this season, Tony Elliott, Russ Gamester, Tice Carlson, and Andy Michner. Oh, looky here, looky here. This is the number 16 car, and they're trying to get Kenny Irwin strapped in and restarted.
Well, I tell you what, if he gets that thing started and gets to go back on the front row, it could be a real interesting start to this next 10-lap race. Kenny Irwin, I know, is a real competitor, and he wants to get back in there very badly. And we know he was upset, and he wants a chance to get in there and show everybody that he can drive that race car and do a good job.
At a point like this, let's be the professor, or now you're a father and your son's out there racing. How do you get him cooled down? Because he may want to go back out there and do something to Dryden and get himself in trouble.
Well, you know, everybody has to make themselves cool down or hype up or whatever the case may be. You know, and a race car driver is not like having a coach on a football team. He has to take care of himself. The crowd loves it. Look at them. They're all jumping up and down here, boy. They're having a great time. They think it's great he's back out there. And I do too. You know, you got to give the guy a lot of credit for taking a bang like that and getting back up there. Dave, you got a comment?
Well, I had a quick conversation with Kenny Irwin Sr. First about the car. They are not sure that the car is 100%. Secondly, about the driver. I asked him if there was any chance he'd be out there retaliating, and he said absolutely not. He's not that kind of kid.
I have to agree with him, Dave. I don't think he is that kind of a kid. I think he's a very level-headed, smart race car driver, and he's going to go out there and try to run.
Good start. Coletta on the high side, Bliss the low side, off the second corner, off the 13-degree banking down the backstretch, and there are the top 3. Coletta, Bliss, and Danny Dryden. 10 laps now. $10,000 total purse. The victor takes home $4,000. The race of champions. All these guys have set quick time or won a feature this season here in Indianapolis Raceway Park.
That Mike Bliss looks awfully strong. He dropped way back going into 1 or 2. Look at this. He comes in there, he gets that thing sideways and right up the side Doug Coletta and right on by him.
Yeah, look at Dryden go by, and he stays low, slides back up in front of Coletta. Coletta had to back out the throttle momentarily.
Boy, I got to tell you, Dryden, he almost collected Coletta there. If Coletta hadn't stood on the brakes and smoked the tires there, he would have collected him, put him right in the fence. He really slid up in front of him.
Is Dryden being too much of a cowboy this evening?
If you want my opinion, I'd say yes.
So the money's making him crazy.
Well, I don't know whether it's the money. I think Danny Dryden is a very driven individual. He wants to win. He wants to win very, very badly. And so that's what he's going to do. He's going to go out there and give it everything. But he's, you know, Coletta right now went right back around him. You know, I shouldn't. Well, look at this. Right back underneath him. You think he almost took a
go ahead. I'm going to hold my breath, Rice. You go ahead and call the race.
Well, That hurt his momentum. He fell back, and Dryden gave him another shot. Every time you go in there and you get those things sideways and slide up towards those guys, it kills your momentum, so you have to make it stick. They might have got their tires too hot. They all run pretty soft tires. Now that Gamester all of a sudden has come up into the fray, too, with that orange car.
On the backstretch, that is the white number 9 as we look at Gamester. And there's the battle for the lead, side by side, and Coletta goes by with the Pontiac power plant halfway, 5 laps down, 5 laps to go. A Pontiac is out in front. Here comes a Gurney to the inside.
Oh, man, these guys are really, you talk about a shootout, a 10-gun, 2-gun, whatever kind of a shootout you want to call this, baby. These guys are going for broke.
$4,000 to win, $2,000 for second, $1,000 for third, and here comes Russ Gamester, a former national midget titleist. He's in that Ellis chassis with the Scat V4. That could be a factor because he's not working so hard on the right rear tire.
I have to retract what I said about Danny Dryden. Everybody in the racetrack's doing the same thing, so you can't point him out as saying he's doing something a little bit crazy because they're all driving their hearts out.
Yeah, but look at the lead now. Look at that gap off the fourth turn that has developed between first and second. Doug Coletta, he's won 4 times this season. That's the car that was built by Don Schilling up in Michigan. The Pontiac power plant put together by Butch Meyer.
Well, I think they're getting a little bit loose. You can see that 9 car just hanging the back end a little bit. He's a little bit looser now than he was earlier. Right there, it's hanging just a little bit. And I think Danny Dryden's probably done the same thing. They overheated the tires a little bit, and once Coletta pulled off that move, and really when he went around poor old Mike Bliss, he just moved up there and he made Mike Bliss move over. He didn't give him any choice. He was either move over or get whacked.
There's a guy, Doug Coletta, who's only 6th in the point standings despite winning 4 races this year. He has been the guy to beat on the pavement. And there's the white flag, 1 lap to go. Our contest now will be for second position. Bliss is second, Dryden third. Bliss in the white number 9, Dryden in the white 33. And Dryden looks to the inside, loses some momentum.
Both of those cars are very, very loose all of a sudden. Both of them, I think, were running so hard.
Look at that.
Right down in there, right up front. Look at, Bliss is really loose in the back end right now. And he made it stick. He went on around him. Meanwhile, Coletta pulled out to a good lead, went ahead and won the race.
But Dryden with that pass on the last lap takes second. Third goes to Bliss. And there is a look at the pilot out of Michigan, Doug Coletta, who races for Don Schilling. And Coletta flying service, and he takes the 10-lap, $4,000 to the victor.
I don't think I've ever seen a more intense, a tougher, harder fought first 4 laps of a race anytime I've ever seen. I mean, these guys were taking chances in every corner of every lap, and nobody got touched.
Well, they were taking the chance also of abusing the tire, but they only had 10 laps to deal with.
Exactly.
It's not like going 30 or 50 laps for a feature.
Well, that's why they call this the race of champions. There's only 10 laps. You better get ready and get going because there's no time to wait around. And they did get ready, and they got going, too.
So Doug Coletta, who on routine takes off about Tuesday from Michigan and sometimes flies to Italy or to Spain with a big cargo plane or in a Learjet and then comes back in time to race in the weekend.
Yes, and he showed us that it doesn't only take nerves of steel to fly one of those big airplanes, but a little nerves of steel to drive these things, too.
You've been in the cockpit for so many years, though, that you can tell us it looks a little different here in the broadcast booth. It sometimes looks scarier than what it looks out there in the cockpit.
Well, certainly. It does look a little tougher, but it's still tough.
All right, there you have the top 5, and on through the top 9. We're coming right back. The check presentation continues here at Indianapolis Raceway Park for Doug Coletta. Let's go back and take a look, Larry, as there's a live shot of Doug and the $4,000 check. Let's go back and take a look when he made the pass for the lead.
Doug Coletta just had so much determination. He wanted it so bad. He drove this thing down in there. He thought it was hard enough that he could just run in there. This is on lap 5. He thought it was hard enough he's just going to go right on behind Bliss. But Bliss didn't let him do that. He pulled right up the side of him, and look at this. He moved right up there, and he just, I don't know whether they actually touched or not, but Bliss clearly had to move out and miss just to keep from having a disaster right there. And he comes right back. He says, I ain't going to let this happen, and he comes right back, shoots in under him, tries to do the same thing, but wasn't up quite far enough, slid right up behind him. And I think he came real close to giving him a little tap right there.
Here's the battle for second position as Dryden goes by Bliss.
Yes, he runs down in below him. He had a big shot on him, went right on by him, was clearly in front of him, slid right up and took the racetrack away. Bliss tried to run in real hard, but his tire, I think, was gone by that point. He was just too far sideways to do any good.
Well, Doug Coletta has just picked up a check for $4,000 in our Race of Champions, and he now is with Dave Despain.
Typically, it takes a lot to get Doug Coletta excited. You got the boys in the broadcast booth all out of breath. How does a $4,000 check rank on the things that make you excited?
Yeah, that works. That'll work real well.
That'll do it, huh?
Yes, that'll do it real well.
What a spectacular race. Obviously, everybody was going for broke. Forget the 50-lapper later. Forget the points. That was a spectacular race. Tell me about it from your viewpoint.
Yeah, you know, I had a really nice starting spot, and I was just running too high there, and those guys went down on the inside of me. I was real surprised, and you know, then I realized I had to really get in the groove here. I'm going to do something, and you know, Mike Bliss and Danny Drynan, you know, they're both really good drivers, and I'm just real happy to be racing with them and get the opportunity to finish in front of them this time.
In your own mind, were you figuring Bliss to be that strong, given the fact that he had to change cars here and the misfortune that he had? Were you surprised to see him take the shots at you that he took?
No, not at all. Mike, I've watched Mike, you know, even before I started running, and I have all the respect. I think he's an excellent driver. I like to run with him.
Great job. Our congratulations on a $4,000 payday for Doug Coletta. We're going to get that B main on the line and come right back at you with more of the racing news from around the country. Stick around on the Thunder.
It was a beautiful race.
Welcome back to Indianapolis Raceway Park, the USAC Midget Series Pavement Nationals off to a spectacular start indeed as Doug Coletta claims the opening Race of Champions. And joining me here to talk about the race as we perhaps get a look at the incident that triggered it all, Dan Drynan. First of all, congratulations on a great run to second spot and on the leadership in the series. Good job.
Thank you on both. The race was plenty exciting. I knew Coletta was going to be tough. He's always fast here. Gave it my best shot. We just had a little understeer in the car, and I was having to wait on it getting off, and that's how he got by me down there. I knew I could get Bliss. I was comfortable with that one, but once Coletta got in front, I was in trouble.
Take a look at the start of the race, the first restart of the race. And I got to tell you, because I'm probably the first to tell you, Kenny Irwin Jr. thinks you didn't give him enough room. Would you agree or not?
It's hard not to give a guy room when you're on the outside against the wall. I mean, I don't know how he views it or whatever, but that's where I see it. When you're on the outside, you have the only room you can go is to the wall. And he knew I was there, so I don't know what you want to say about it.
So you felt that he had all the room he needed. Obviously, Stan Fox came out the toughest in this. He's on an airplane going off to race stock cars. You've got to consider the 50-lapper that's still coming up as we take one more look at Fox's wild ride. You got to be glad that's not you.
Definitely. I don't like to see anybody crash. And I mean, a race like this where they put all the hype into it, it creates emotions. A lot of things are said, like happened in weeks past. We tried to do the best. You're pumped up for it. The way the whole race is set up, you're just total emotions into it. I want to go on from that, think about our 50-lapper now in our points championship.
Real quick, tell me about the 50-lapper. What do you think the prospects are to hang on to that point lead?
Point lead, I'm not worried about at this point. We're trying to focus on one race at a time, and I feel if I do that, do the best we can, and each one will be there at the end.
Okay, we wish you good luck tonight. I know the crew's hollering for you, so we'll let you go to work. We're going to take a look at some of the other wild action of the last couple of weeks here in the open wheel ranks, and we're going to start with a guy who's not with us here tonight. He's A-OK, but a week ago at Salem, he had a heart-stopping moment. Let's take a look at the videotape as Tony Stewart goes out of the ballpark. Now, as you can see, Mike Blake is out in front here, about to be overlapped by Steve Butler down on the bottom. Blake turns in front of Butler. Butler sends Stewart out of here. He is up and in the trees in what has to rank as one of the wildest rides of this 1992 season. Again, you'll see it in slow motion. This is a case of wrong place at the right time. When Butler comes up and collects Stewart, Tony's into the catch fence, over the fence, into the trees. But came out of the car and said, hey, I'm okay. As a matter of fact, came out and said, let me get in another car, and went back out and finished 9th in the race. An unbelievable performance for Tony Stewart and a terrific comeback. He's going to be one of the bright young stars of this game. He was not the only guy to get up there and visit the catch fence. Tonight's Grand Marshal here for the Midget Nationals is Jim Keeker. And Jim Keeker had a very similar ride on dirt. This was shot home video by Dennis Taney. Look at Keeker. The thing wheel stands off the line and then barrel rolls down the front straightaway. This is Lawrenceburg, Indiana, on the dirt. Jim Keeker is generally quick to tell you that he is, without doubt, the fastest learning dirt track racer in America. And he's sitting here beside me chuckling. He hadn't had a chance to see this yet. There is Keeker's car. And again, the issue of the arm restraints, because his arm restraint broke in the midst of that tumble, and it has left him with a broken wrist. And Jim, I know you came scrambling up here to get a quick look at that because you hadn't seen it yet. You got the racer red eye. How'd it look to you?
It looked kind of like I remembered it. No fault of the guys from Simpson on the arm restraints. They were working on some new ones at the time, and they'd asked me to use them, and I elected to use the ones that I had, and they knew there was a problem with them. And I'm happy that the one did hold, and I got one good arm left. So looks like a speedy recovery. I'm healing up pretty good out here watching these guys have fun tonight.
I guess the broken wrist is the worst of it.
Yeah, I got some blurry eyes and whatnot, but they tell me Dr. Terry Trammell and Dr. Bailey and his group are telling me about 6 weeks. They got a new deal out. You don't have to have the plaster on, so I'm able to work with my hands already, and I'll be able to build some strength in my hand pretty quick, and hopefully towards the end of the year be strong enough to get back in one.
Yeah, that looks a whole lot more comfortable than a cast, I'll tell you. The issue that a lot of people are wondering about is what does this do to Keeker's hopes to go drive a stock car? Are you going to still be able to do that, do you think, at Martinsville?
If I can get my strength up by then, we're shooting for the first week in October to go to the Buck Baker driving school, and I can guarantee I'm going to be working real hard to get strong by then.
Here's a guy who has gained a lot of fans and admirers during this Saturday Night Thunder season. We're glad to see you okay after a tough ride.
Thanks a lot.
Jim Keeker says he will indeed try to take a shot at that stock car ride before this season is out. We want to update the man whose thoughts have been at the forefront of our mind here since he took that incredible 15 times over tumble on the front straightaway 3 weeks ago at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Mac McClellan. We had hoped to have an interview with Mac here tonight, and the day we were scheduled to shoot that interview, he took a bit of a turn. They discovered a blood clot that had formed in his leg. The doctors are not overly concerned about it, but didn't feel it would be a good idea to have him spend his day working with the television crew. Instead, they wanted to make sure that that blood clot was under control. There is good news about Mac McClellan. The doctors are amazed, the Indianapolis orthopedics guys, at how well they were able to reconstruct his hands, and they feel that he will have full use of his hands after a long, and we should emphasize very long, and grueling therapy. We want to also pass on the thank yous from his wife, Sherry, who says thanks to Wins for their continuing support, even though Mac is out of the cockpit. She said a special thanks to all the fans who sent cards and letters and said, I just can't explain to you how much that has meant to Mac during his hospitalization. A thank you, she says, to Simpson and all the safety equipment people, and I think most importantly to Cliff Jacobs, who built that car, which enabled Mac to survive one of the wild rides of the year. And finally, from Sherry, a plea to all the drivers. Wear your arm restraints, make sure they're new, do everything you can to protect yourself. After the crash, Sherry says, is too late. The good news is Mac McClellan will recover. The B main is on the racetrack. 16 drivers hoping to qualify for tonight's 50-lap feature. It's a wild night at Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll be back with more of the Thunder. The racing starts bright and early tomorrow morning. The Formula One Grand Prix of Hungary, live from Budapest, 7:50 tomorrow morning. Set your alarm. After the wild Saturday Night Thunder, it's Grand Prix action early in the morning to kick off the racing weekend. The B main is on the racetrack at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Talk about pressure. This is last chance to make the feature. And here to call the starting lineup, Gary and Larry.
20 laps, they're starting straight up. Kenneth Nichols and Aaron Truax will share row one. In the second row, on the inside, we'll have Mark Gerke out of Panama City, Florida. And outside, Barry Reed in 16 EC. In the third row, Mike Fedorchak and Rabiat. Row four, on the inside, Tice Carlson. Outside, Phil French. In row five, Jim Mahoney and Brett Poole. Row six, on the inside, Brian Gerster in 21. Bob Ciccone driving his brother Lou's car, number 75. And Joey Coy and Mike Mason in row 7. In the 8th row, Keith Butler in number 12B and Mike Bliss in number 41. Mike Bliss, Ted Hines in the 9th row by himself. Mike Bliss, the fast qualifier last night, loses the power plant. This is his third car he's been in this evening.
The third car tonight, and he ran good in the first two, so if he runs as good in this third one, it could be an interesting shot because he starts way in the back of this race. he's got a long way to go up through those guys because there's, what, 15, 16 cars in this race.
There's a good look at Mark Gerke in that bright iridescent car right in front of us there. As now we look back at Tice Carlson in a blue number 18.
Yeah, Carlson's painted that car. It's been red all year. Fluorescent orange, as a matter of fact. Now that he's painted it blue, so it's a very pretty blue color, too. But look at the start.
And we should get a green this time by. We do get a green. Let's see if it stays out, though.
I don't think you're going to see that stay out because the car on the pole fell way back. He didn't get a very good start at all. The green flag is going to stay out. I'm really surprised at that.
Green flag stays out down the backstretch. And out in front is that ALA1 car. That is Kenneth Nichols. He's won a couple of times this season. There's Mark Gerke right in behind. Mark has a Toyota-powered car that he's been working with now for about 3 seasons, and now he says he feels like it's starting to develop and work like it should.
Well, it looks like it's developing pretty good right now. As he's running second, he's running a very strong second at this point.
Mark Gerke drives up with a big tow rig from Panama City, Florida. Had to be here last night to qualify. Normally leaves about noon on Friday. Drives all night long to be here in town for practice to qualify on Saturday.
The dark number 48 car is Mike Fedorchak, who's challenging Gerke right now. Fedorchak, we know, is running very good here. Real strong in a lot of different race cars. This is a new one that I haven't seen him run before. Uh-oh, it looked like Gerke bottomed out right there.
Now, we've seen that at Winchester, but not here at Raceway Park.
Well, I think he might have something going wrong because the race car does not normally bottom out. He's the right rear torsion bar. Look at that car lean over right there. I think he stripped the serrations in the right rear torsion bar, and that thing is going to be tough to handle with it leaning over like that on the right side.
But with all the cars that we've had fall by the wayside because of mechanical woes this evening, virtually everyone from this race will transfer, so he has to hang on and make a change in the pit area.
He's got to hang on. He's got to try to run as fast as he can, but I feel certain that something, that right rear torsion bar, something's happened to drop the right rear of that car down. This is the way it's the attitude of the race car on the race car.
There's Odd in that white number 5 right there. Tice Carlson, the blue number 18.
Odd's doing a very good job in that race car. He's running pretty quick, and he's right up and at him. And here comes Carlson on the inside, but he can't quite make it stick.
They also had to do some major repair work on that car after making contact with the outside retaining wall last night.
Yeah, it looks like they've got the race car working very well. He's probably not quite where he wants to be for feature time, but he's still running pretty quick.
The state bonding car we're talking about now. Carlson just a little loose as he goes down to the low side.
Well, he was just a little bit too low right there to make it stick, but Robbie Ott was running 1 car length down. He tried to go 2 car widths down and just couldn't quite get it done.
Is this a case where perhaps they're running faster than Gerke, but because of momentum can't get by?
Well, probably so. I think Robbie Ott's running a little quicker. I know that Carlson's running quicker. He just hasn't found quite that right spot yet to make a move. He tries on the low side, but he doesn't seem to be able to quite get it done. That's Jim Mahoney in that black number 96 car right there in the middle of that pack. That's a pretty new engine. That's a V4 engine that Ron Huddles has designed. He came out with the Sesco way back in the early 70s and really started revolutionizing the midget engine business. And he's now developed this engine, and he's real quite happy with it.
Carlson has gotten around Ott, right behind Ott now in the Eagle Snacks car is Aaron Truax, that white number 12. So there's a look at 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the racetrack as they work on lap number 9. This is a 20-lap event. There's the battle for 2nd.
Carlson's is running through the corners very quickly, a lot quicker than the Gerke in that orange car, but he doesn't seem to be able to have the horsepower to get off of the corner and get around it. That orange car doesn't get into the corner quite as it gets into the corner pretty quickly. Right in the middle of the corner, it looks like the race car is laying over, and that's where Carlson really comes at it.
I correct myself. I said the battle for 2nd. That's the battle for 3rd because Mike Fedorchak has moved around, and he's up to 2nd right now. So there's 3rd place. That's the number 14 of Gerke, that iridescent red-orange car, and the blue-green car right behind is Carlson. So that's a look at 3rd and 4th as they work on lap number 10.
Once again, Carlson pulls down to the inside of him, coming off the corner, but he's a little loose, too. You can see the back end wiggle, and he gets down there on that low side. He just doesn't seem quite have enough horsepower.
Oh, look at this, Aaron Truax. The yellow flag is out because he has stopped on the racetrack on the back stretch. That's the Eagle Snacks car, and he was running up there in the top 5. So we have a yellow flying over Indianapolis Raceway Park. We are in the B main of the Clark Oil Pavement Nationals from Indianapolis Raceway Park. So with this yellow flag, they'll have to clear the track of Aaron Truax. We'll take this break and come back with the conclusion of the B main.
Cage car coverage, cage cam coverage of tonight's racing brought to you by CarQuest Auto Parts. For your nearest CarQuest Auto Parts store, give them a call, 1-800-492-PART. Here's how they're running. We're in the B main. Kenneth Nichols running out front. Mike Fedorchak keeps the pressure on. They're coming to green with Gerke, Carlson, and Mahoney rounding out the top 5 halfway home. Turn them loose and go green. Gary and Larry.
This yellow could have benefited Fedorchak because he had quite a gap to make up in the last 10 laps.
Yes, and Gerke tried to get on him right there. Tice Carlson tries to go under the orange car of Gerke right at the same time, and Jim Mahoney in that black car was real near the fence trying to get around back there in the back. So everybody tried to gain an advantage, but it all shook out. Everybody was in the same position as they started that restart.
Fedorchak is the pavement master, as we call when he brought that radically designed munchkin out to the Indianapolis Speedrome and won a race here on the ESPN Live. There is Gerke. He takes a look to the inside of Fedorchak. So apparently that car's not handling all that fast.
No, it's not. Gerke really surprised me that he's running that strong with that race car because he's had a lot of tough luck this year. He's been upside down a couple of times, but he really has got that engine in that race car and the race car working. That's the best we've seen him run for quite a while.
Well, of course, we don't see much from the Toyota power plant in this form of competition, but in IMSA GTP, they're very competitive, but he's been working this Toyota power plant now for about 3 seasons. He's in 3rd position. Tice Carlson right there in the state bonding number 18 is back and forth. Here is your leader. That is the ALA1 car. Kenneth Nichols, the driver. The Nowicki family, the owners of that one.
One thing I certainly was wrong about, he hasn't lost the right rear torsion bar on that car. He wouldn't be running that fast. He must just have the race car set up so low that it is rubbing bottom going through the corners. He certainly wouldn't have the race rear torsion bar and still be able to run that quick race like this.
14 laps now complete, 6 laps to go, and all of a sudden a gap starts to develop between 1st and 2nd. Good battle, though, back there for 2nd position. Gerke hits the wall backwards. Tice Carlson went over him, got airborne. 2 more cars involved. A car rolls over, 2 cars over. What a mess down there as Gerke first got into the wall. Tice Carlson got over. We cannot even identify the cars that are upside down. All we can see are belly pans right now. Butler in the red number 12. We can see the nose of that red number 12. Gerke still in the cockpit. Well, here are 2 more cars involved.
Boy, that's...
Hines in the 2 car. We still have 1 car upside down that we've not identified as the safety crew. Mike Mason, we're being told, in the 7 car. Mike Mason, the farmer out of Ohio. And there is Gerke frantically trying to help right the car of Butler. Well, there's some fuel, obviously, spilling from one of the race cars.
I think that was a concern. That's why he got out of there so quick. He's trying to get in there so he can help somebody else. He was obviously all right himself, but he had fears that somebody else might not be quite as fortunate as he was. I think that's Tice Carlson walking back towards the accident right now. He was involved but got on farther down the racetrack. He was the first one who actually collected Gerke after Gerke hit the fence.
So often we see this in motorsports. You're at the wrong spot at the wrong time. You can be doing everything just right and somebody else gets loose in front of you.
You know, so much of motorsports is luck, being at the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the right time. And that was clearly a case of Tice Carlson and the rest of these guys being in the wrong place. Gerke went in there. He tried to slide up. It passed Fedorchak. He just didn't quite make it, and as he went up there, his right front touched Fedorchak, or he just got it sideways, went right into the fence. Carlson hits him, slides on down the racetrack. 2 cars farther back, spinning, and collect him. Here comes Truax. He runs into him. I mean, everybody was trying to miss the accident. It was just too narrow a racetrack. They all just kind of had one of those ROTs, ran out of track.
Well, you know, we've got some dwarf cars here this evening, Raj. Let's have Despain call the feature, and we're going to have a short field. We can take a couple dwarf cars and start scratch.
And here we see it again. Right there, Gerke sitting in the racetrack. Oh, everybody's on the binders trying to miss him. Mason gets sideways. Butler's on the outside of him. They both hit him, get upside down at exactly the same time. Truax went on down the racetrack. He got involved. It was just a simple case of too many race cars, the track being blocked, everybody going for a hole, and they all got together. They ran into each other, and that was it. It was all over with.
Well, Tice Carlson still running around the racetrack for some reason.
Well, I think Tice Carlson probably has thoughts of getting back in the race. He probably took the lightest hit of anybody in that group. He was the first one to collect him. Oh, here's a good in-car camera. As we're looking down this front straightaway, this is Fedorchak's car we're riding with. Here comes Gerke, gets out the side of him, goes real low into the corner. He's going to try to slide up and get around him. He doesn't get far enough past him, though. As he starts his slide up the racetrack, he's not past him far enough. He just goes up there And
I
he
think
didn't
may
really
have
hit
the
it.
brake. I think he may have hit the brake and upset the chassis.
He might have. He might have hit the brake, trying to keep from hitting Fedorchak right in. Here we see Carlson hit him. He comes on down the racetrack, and we lose him right there. You know, we can't see what else is going to happen, but it was a tough break.
I have to tip my hat to all the guys that run these cameras, because we have it from every angle, both from the car and from outside the racetrack. So obviously a lot of oil dry being put down. We lost some fuel on the racetrack. We're under a red flag situation. We'll come back and straighten this mess out.
Saturday Night Thunder is brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, who proudly brings you Family Talk. Let's stop underage drinking before it starts. We're back at Indianapolis Raceway Park. I promised you a wild night, and we have it. The B main has been stopped and will now be called official after a major tangle up in turn 1. And we understand that Joey Coy and Aaron Truax are both being attended to by the medical personnel. As soon as we have a medical update, we will pass that along to you. Joey Coy was the other driver involved and has apparently sustained injury. At this point, we don't have word on how serious that injury might be. Now, you're looking at the car there of Jim Mahoney, who was our last hero here on Saturday Night Thunder. You saw it last Saturday night. It was actually a taped show, and after watching himself win on television, Mahoney here said, hey, that looked like fun, went off and raced in Salem in the sprint car and won again. So if you combine TV and live, he won 2 races in 24 hours. We talked racing with Mahoney, beginning with his reaction to his very first Saturday Night Thunder victory on television.
Oh, I was really happy. That was the first time I won on ESPN. I've been racing since ESPN had Thursday Night Thunder over at the Speedrome on Kitley International. And I was tickled pink. Everybody back home was kind of waiting for me to win one. And we had a big article in the newspaper telling everybody to watch TV and stuff like that, that tonight's the night. The first win, it's just like the monkey off your back. You know, I've never been a winner on TV. Now I'm a winner on TV, and it makes a big difference, I would think. Salem was a tough afternoon last Sunday. We went over there with Johnny Vance. The track was real hot. It was slippery. And Jim McQueen just dialed that race car in to go around the racetrack, and it was just fast. It was super fast, and I just took off. And there again, the last 5 or 6 laps, so I did nothing but back off the throttle and just roll through the corners. I've paid my dues in open wheel racing. I've hung with some cars that weren't so good, and I've stuck it out to get the experience. I've got my personal life together. Everything's working real good. I can't explain what it is, but I've got a real good feel for a race car in 1992. So I look up to Mel Kenyon, and just amazing that that man's in his mid-50s or upper 50s and still out there driving a midget. I look up to Stan Fox, because Stan Fox is a driver that races any car on any night. He'll race Indy 500 one night and be up at Sunford, Wisconsin the next night racing a midget. And to me, it reminds me a lot of Rich Vogler. Rich would have been one of the drivers I'd like to say I could admire my driving style after. I hate being passed in a heat race. I want to go out and win every race I can. I don't really like to sit back and watch things happen in front of me. I like to be involved. I like to pass the guys. It's just something inside me. If it's got 4 wheels and a steering wheel, it's something I want to do. I'm going to race it and beat the next guy. Even going down the highway, the guy passes me, I find myself standing on the throttle trying to get around him and stuff like that. I just can't stand being passed. Definitely like to head over to Busch Grand National Race Cars if the financing's available. We're trying to sign up a couple sponsors next year for running the United States Auto Club and hopefully Saturday Night Thunder. We'll know within the next 60 to 90 days if we get the major funding that's needed to run the sprint car team. And hopefully I can take those sponsors with me to a Busch Grand National ride, hopefully somewhere in the future. Busch Grand National, the cars are all even. A driver can get a chance to excel and show his stuff rather than have the equipment be so dominating like it is in IndyCar racing. I've been in racing all my life. It's just something I always wanted to do. When I was real young, I always used to tell everybody I was going to drive sprint cars and midgets and stuff like that. And I just love it. I just love sprint car racing. I love the thrill of speed. And I just love the competition of racing.
Hey, Mahoney, you ham? How'd we do, Jim? You like that? All right, I thought he would. Couldn't wait to see it. Couldn't wait to get home and check it on the VCR. Had to come over here and eavesdrop. Jim Mahoney, guy with a lot of personality and a tremendous ability to drive a race car. I have an update on Joey Coy. Joey is apparently the only driver injured. The update on Aaron Truax is that he is A-OK. They have taken Joey Coy from the car and transported him to the infield hospital here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. He's complaining of some pain in his shoulder and neck, and they want to check that out. Obviously, you don't take any chances on an injury like that. And so Joey Coy will be checked out, and we'll have an update on that. This has been a very, very, very busy couple of weeks for the midget drivers. They were out west for the Mile High Nationals and then on dirt, the Belleville Nationals. It's one of the spectacular midget classics that kind of set the stage here for the Pavement Nationals tonight. And we've got an update on that event, complete coverage. Gary Lee has a report on last weekend's exciting Belleville Dirt Nationals in Kansas.
Like Claremont and Knoxville, the Belleville High Banks are also in a small town. The track was built back in 1911, and in 1934, the famous high banks were added. Drivers back then proved that auto racing was a sport, and that stick and ball stuff, just a game. Today, it's said Belleville is the Indy 500 of midget racing. What began as a challenge race in 1977 has turned into a yearly carnival and a who's who in midget racing. Former winners include Johnny Parsons in '83, Jeff Gordon in '90, Jack Hewitt in '91, and two-time winners Stan Fox and Sleepy Tripp. Before the A main, the 40-car field lined up 4 abreast to salute Bob Shoup, who was killed Friday night in a preliminary race. Once the race got underway, Leland McSpadden took the lead and dominated the rest of the way. The race went accident-free until lap 33, when Eric Wilkins lost control, hit a rut, and flipped several times. Eric escaped injury. The race, though, was red flagged. And here's this week's winning point. Prior to the Wilkins crash, McSpadden tapped the outside wall, causing him to have an apparent tire problem, allowing Richard Griffin to close in. But on the red flag, McSpadden was able to change tires and go on to win his first Belleville Nationals.
All right, congratulations to all the winners out in Belleville. A wild night of dirt track racing. We are here at Indianapolis Raceway Park awaiting the medical update on Joey Coy and taking the opportunity to meet race driving stars of the future. You hear all about Larry Rice here on Saturday Night Thunder. And now, guess who's here to join us? We get the two-shot here. Robbie Rice. You didn't know you were going to be on television tonight, did you?
Nope, didn't know anything about it at all.
This kid has been a tremendous help to us all season long on the Saturday Night Thunder team. He's one of those behind-the-scenes guys that we talk about, helping to run down race drivers for us when we need that interview. But I happen to know that this guy is also a budding racing star of the future. Look here what I got. United States Auto Club feature winner Rob Rice, main event, Modified Midgets, August 6th, Marion County Fair, following in the old man's footsteps. Congratulations to you, kid. Your first winner interview on national television.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, for getting me this. Dang, I didn't have anything about it, and thanks, Bo Marvel. I know this came from you now. And hopefully Bill says he's going to buy a car next year and run teammates with me. Hopefully we'll be able to do that next year.
I want to know about this hat. Turn around here so I can read that. Bank One 1992 Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Thanks. That's all Bill's idea. He told me to wear the hat tonight, and I had no idea. I didn't know what he was talking about, but I wore the hat, so.
You're not nervous about this, are you?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, just first time on national TV.
Let me ask you a serious question. Assuming that you can get Dad to spend a little more time working on the race car, I know it took you all season to get him jacked up and get that thing put together. How serious are you about being a race driver?
Oh, I'm real serious. I mean, last night we went out and ran dwarf cars, my dad and Gary Lee, and
wait a minute. You ran dwarf cars with Gary Lee. I understand the fix was in. Is that true? They wouldn't let you pass Gary Lee. That was one of the rules, right?
Well, they put me on the pole, and I had the fastest car out there. Then they made me stop on just slow down and let them pass me so they could win. And Gary, one of my buddies would give me $20 to put Gary in the wall, but I couldn't do that since he's one of my buddies and all this. So he just got lucky.
He just got lucky. I know all about that, Robbie. Congratulations to you. Robbie is a quarter midget racer, and a lot of us feel that that's where the stars of the future come from. And you may or may not know that right here in Indianapolis is one of the hotbeds of quarter midget racing. We had an opportunity to go out and see another side of motorsports, stars of the future. You may recognize the famed mile dirt of the Indiana State Fairgrounds, but look in the lower right-hand corner. Doesn't that look like a little bitty racetrack? Well, that's exactly what it is, and that's where they race quarter midgets on Sunday afternoon. Here you will find a lot of racing heavy hitters. Mary George, chairman of the board of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, watching her grandson, Tony George Jr., who's learning the racing business from the ground up. Another familiar face, Pancho Carter, two-time USAC Sprint Car champ, 85 500 pole sitter, watching over the careers of his two young sons. Dane, who's driving the Coyote Orange number 14, just like Dad did in the recent race at Loudon. And Cole, who's being helped by Larry Rice's son, Robbie. Where's your dad, Robbie? Oh, here he is, looking like a lost tourist.
I am a tourist.
Some of these cars have great-looking paint jobs, and I'll bet you won't find anything like this at AJ's recent auction. Another team that looks like it belongs over on West 16th Street.
The checkered flag is out. Goodyear makes a move. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
With this paint job, you know those guys like the outcome of that race. We were a little surprised to find Steve Reeves in competition here. Actually, he's trying out a ride for his daughter, Whitney. And Robbie Stanley?
Where'd you get that uniform?
Oh, I got it from Robbie. My dad did some work on his car, and he let me have it for a little bit of money. I had to give him a little bit. I did. I'm littler. Haven't made the USAC Sprint champ yet, but I'm hoping for it. I'll make it someday.
Hey, what kid wouldn't jump at the chance to race one of these little screamers? I think the future of motorsports is alive and well with kids like that in action. We're going to take a quick break here and come back to bring you up to date on some of the other action around the world of racing this weekend. It's all part of the Midget Nationals here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Be right back. The Thunderheads of America gathered around their television sets as we come to Indianapolis Raceway Park for our final Saturday Night Thunder of the year. I think that last piece cries out for a response to two questions. One, is it true that somebody put up $20 to see Gary Lee in the wall? And perhaps more relevant, will Larry Rice take $250,000 out of his ESPN salary and buy Robbie an Indy car? How about it, guys?
Well, first of all, it was a cousin that offered more than $20, but I threatened to disown him. And secondly, A.J. Foyt, I think, is roaming around someplace, a very rich man after the auction, and Rice is looking for all the junk in his closet and his garage to sell.
That's right. I think my son ought to be up here with A.J. instead of down there with you, Dave, because after this auction, he's got $4 million he could spend on one of these race cars. But my son's had a lot of fun. It's a family sport. All the families go out and do it. That's what's great about motorsports. Everybody can get involved.
Hey,
that's why I like it.
I hope my kids are not watching because they'll be hammering me to buy another race car for them.
Hey, somebody want to tell me the Colts
Guys,
score?
it is indeed a family sport, and on that note, we must send our condolences this weekend to one of racing's favorite families. I speak, of course, of the Allisons. It has been a tough 5 years since Bobby's big crash at Pocono, Davy's big crash recently, and, of course, the death of Bobby's father earlier this year. By now, I'm sure you know the news. Clifford Allison, Bobby's youngest son, died as a result of injuries in practice on Thursday at Michigan International Speedway. And all of us at Saturday Night Thunder extend our condolences to the entire Allison family. Clifford Allison was preparing his car for the Grand National race that ran today up at Michigan International Speedway. You saw it earlier on ESPN, and we're going to check on the outcome of that race now. Dr. Jerry Punch filed this report exclusively for Saturday Night Thunder. Dr. Punch.
With a huge crowd on hand and a cool afternoon, pole sitter Jeff Gordon got the jump on the field and led the first 9 laps. It was Jeff's 8th pole of 92. Position shuffled in turn 4 when Bill Elliott tried to challenge Jeff, but it was Hut Strickland who emerged with the top spot. Ernie Irvin, the fastest second-day qualifier, moved from 21st starting position to take the lead on lap 18. But just after crossing the line, a big puff of smoke signaled the beginning of the end for Ernie. The first crash came at the halfway mark when Lonnie Rush Jr. made heavy contact with a second turn wall, destroying his car. 15 circuits later saw another accident at the other end of the track involving Tim Fedua and Ward Burton. Both were okay. On lap 80, Jimmy Spencer tried to take second from Dale Earnhardt, but lost control and slammed the concrete. A brief fire burned itself out. Spencer was uninjured. Gordon was also involved in the accident, and his hopes of winning a third event this year were over. Todd Bodine led a 7-car train to the checkered flag that included Strickland and Earnhardt. It was Todd's third career Busch Grand National victory.
You know, I'd like to dedicate this to Clifford House, good friend for all of us.
Todd Bodine is the winner. Now.
Obviously an emotional day at Michigan International Speedway. Tomorrow the attention will turn to the Winston Cup cars, and of course they will be live on ESPN. Here's how they'll line up for the 400-miler tomorrow. Alan Kulwicki on the pole. It's all Fords up front. Mark Martin qualifying second. Davey Allison will drive tomorrow. He is qualified third. Kenny Schrader and Ernie Irvin rounding out the top 5. Kulwicki broke the track record. Morgan Shepherd, Bill Elliott, Sterling Marlin, Darrell Waltrip, and Brett Bodine rounding out the top 10 qualifiers. Now, who is this guy lurking behind that full coverage racing helmet? You've already seen him earlier here tonight. Why, it's Stan Fox, indeed doing the Foxtrot this weekend. We alluded to it in our earlier interview with Stan. It's his second Winston Cup appearance, and he got some good advice. Well, I think he got some good advice from the guy on the right. You recognize Jeff Gordon, of course, the Grand National veteran, telling Stan how to get around in a Winston Cup car. Must not have told him everything. Stan qualified 38th. And then jumped in the airplane and came flying down here hoping to defend his Pavement National Championship. You know the rest of the story. He crashed on the first lap of the Race of Champions, and he is out of there. Now check this out. You recognize the guy on the left, I'm sure of that. That is Richard Petty. Been a lot of talk about who might be driving Richard's car next year. We understand that Tom Kendall is being highly recommended by the folks at General Motors. After Ted Musgrave said no thanks, I think perhaps that might be the next driver of the 43 car. The race will be live tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. Be sure and check it out. Complete live coverage of the Champion Spark Plug 400. They ran the IROC race today. Al Unser Jr. came out a winner over Ricky Rudd. How about Al Jr. upsetting all the stock car guys? Rusty Wallace, Scott Pruitt, and Dale Earnhardt rounding out the top 5. And Ricky Rudd wins the season championship. The Trans Am cars are up there at that racetrack I can never pronounce. Three Rivers in Canada. Scott Sharp, no surprise, on the pole. Ron Fellows second, Jack Baldwin, and the Archer brothers rounding out the top 5 for that run tomorrow. And here's how the Atlantics will line up. The Formula Atlantic pole belongs to Stuart Crow, Chris Smith, Charles Nierberg, Steve Cameron, and Patrick Carpentier rounding out the top 5. And last but not least, a quick look at how they have qualified for the Grand Prix of Hungary. That will be coming up tomorrow. Ricardo Patrese beats Nigel Mansell in qualifying. Ayrton Senna third. Michael Schumacher and Gerhard Berger have the 4th and 5th starting spots for the race, which starts at 7:50 tomorrow morning live here on ESPN. That's pretty much the rundown on the rest of the racing world. The Thunderheads are ready. We'll be back at IRP.
USAC, the most diversified sanctioning body in auto racing, sanctions the Indianapolis 500-mile race for the 37th consecutive year in 1992 as part of a racing schedule involving more than 160 exciting open-wheel events. Be there for every green flag. USAC is bigger and better than ever. Be a part of the action by writing for membership information to the United States Auto Club. And don't miss a single exciting lap.
On the racetrack, the 50-lap feature here at the Pavement Nationals, lined up, ready to rock and roll. It's our final edition of Saturday Night Thunder. We're looking forward to a good one. Here to call the last main event of 1992, Gary Lee and Larry Rice. Guys, this will be a good one.
Well, up in front, a youngster and a veteran, and that veteran could certainly be the crowd favorite, as you indicated earlier. Andy Michner, by virtue of being the 8th fastest qualifier with the inverted start on the pole. Mel Kenyon, a 7-time USAC midget champion outside the front row. The second row, Dan Drynan and Doug Coletta, the winner of our big race of champions this evening. Stevie Reeves, Kenneth Nichols will occupy row 3. In the 4th row, Mike Fedorchak and Barry Reed back in his own car. the 5th row, Robbie Ott and Jim Mahoney. In row 6 on the inside, Phil French and Keith Butler outside, and the only 12 car I think remaining this evening. In the 7th row, Mike Bliss and Mike Mason. In the 8th row, Tice Carlson, Bob Ciccone in the 75 car that's normally driven by his brother Lou. The 9th row, Brett Poole and Robbie Stanley. Row 10. There is no row 10 because of all the cars we've had on the wayside, including Russ Gamester. Russ ran the Race of Champions, but has parked the car for this 50-lapper.
They lost oil pressure earlier, and they tried to work on it, but I think they had the same problem probably recur again, so they just opted to park the car rather than completely tear up the engine. And it's too bad, because he was running very well in that Race of Champions race. Gary, sorry for stepping on you, but although this is our last night here, there's a lot more racing coming up. I mean, Kokomo runs Wednesday night. They got Macon, Illinois Friday. They got Springfield on Saturday. The Champ Dirt Car race. There's a lot of racing going on for the fans to go watch. They just won't be able to watch it here on TV with us.
Yeah, I look forward to being moved to Kokomo to get Macon and also Springfield on Saturday. There's some announcement for Springfield with the same drivers on the PA over there. But right now, I have to think this could be the night of Mr. Midget. Mel Kenyon starts outside the front row, a 59-year-old veteran with 7 midget championships. Pretty ragged start. Nah, the green comes out, but when they come off the second quarter, they'll be looking at a yellow light down the backstretch.
Andy Midget definitely got a big jump on everybody. He was probably 6 car lengths in front of everybody as they went across the finish line, and the yellow light did come on, slowing the cars down. We're going to get them lined up a little better than that. At least give everybody a fair shot to going into that first corner.
Take a look one more time at the start and why they didn't actually get the green.
Well, look at this. Andy Michener is clearly 6-8 car lengths in front of everybody. He just got on the throttle way too early. They instruct you not to get on the throttle until you're coming off the 4th corner. He got on the throttle way back up there between 3 and 4, and you know, when it's clearly something like that, I think everybody else back there realized that they didn't do anything silly. They didn't try to gain an advantage. They just went in there watching for that yellow light to come on.
Well, look at there, the 50-lap track record set here in 1980. 12 years ago by Mel Kenyon. He starts outside the front row. $5,000 up for grabs for the winner. 25 for second, 15 for third, 12 for second, and $1,000 for fifth. We've not mentioned the wins challenge because it's not going to be up for grabs because our pole setter's out.
Andy Michener did exactly the same thing again. He's got on the throttle way back there. Kenyon didn't keep up, I think, because he didn't think that was the right place to start. And I don't know whether they're going to let it go this time or not. It looks like they might let it go.
They're going to let it go?
Terrible start.
They are going to let it go. And look at Coletta up to second.
Right away. And Danny Dryden, I think that white car right under Mel Kenyon right away. He's going to go for third position.
The AL81 car, isn't it? Oh, the AL81. That's Nichols up to fourth.
You're right. That's Kenneth Nichols took the 4th position already. You know,
right inside of Kenyon coming off 2.
But right there, he got that race car very loose. One thing in a 50-lap race, unlike that 10-lapper that we just watched, you cannot afford to get the race car too loose too many times early in the race, because that tire goes away in a 50-lapper. You're going to be slow for a lot of laps near the end of the race.
I want to correct one thing. We said that the wins extend challenge would not apply. It will apply because Bliss is, in fact, in the race in Eddie Griffith's car. So he went an extra $1,500 because he set quick time last night.
Look at this in-car shot here. Look at how smoothly he seems to be getting. That's Danny Dryden in the 33 car right in front of him. Gets through the corner very quickly, but Dryden seems to get a shot on him, pull away from him as he goes down the straightaway. But into the corner, he really gains getting into the corner. Fedorchek, that's whose car we're looking at.
Yeah, I like the in-car camera shot with Fedorchek because it gives us a shot to see how smooth he is, how little movement there is to the steering wheel.
He probably has as little steering wheel movement of any driver we've ever had that camera in. He just doesn't move it. He gets the race car set up, and he doesn't overdrive it. If it doesn't want to go any faster than that, he won't overdrive it. He doesn't do anything silly. He drives it as fast as it'll go, but that's it. A lot of dicing going on. Look at those guys dipping and diving up there in the front, trying to get an advantage, trying to gain a little bit.
Way out right now is Coletta. Coletta has about a third of a straightaway advantage. A good battle for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. There's your battle right there.
And this battle is working to Coletta's advantage. All the time these guys are battling with each other and using up their tires. It just makes his job easier. He's out there running nice and smooth and easy. He's saving his tires. These guys are all thrashing and crashing and bashing with each other. And every time they make a move, they're using their tires up.
Look at Stevie Reeves, though, in the white number 9. He is on the move. That is the bar car, actually the dirt car that was set up for Pavement this evening that Stan Fox drove at Belleville last week.
That's right. He's Stephen Michener's still running in second position. Kenyon's still running in third. The green car is the L81 car of Kenneth Nichols, and Stevie Reeves and Danny Dryden back there fighting for position. These guys all trying to run smooth and fast at the same time. And when you're following somebody and trying to go around them, it's very, very difficult to maintain that smoothness. Look at Kenyon. He's going to drop to the bottom, and Nichols tried to go on the outside, but didn't have quite enough room.
Once again, it's Andy Michener, Kenyon down low, then Kenneth Nichols, and then it's Stevie Reeves and Dan Dryden. Dryden not as competitive right now at this juncture of the race as perhaps he thought he would be after that 10-lapper.
Well, I think all of them are trying to drive a smart race. I think they're all trying to save their tires. I think they're all trying to drive their race cars straight and not use them up. They know that their only chance to beat Coletta is going to be to have a race car left the last 10 or 15 laps. Unfortunately, Coletta also, by having such a big lead, is able to save his tires and run nice and straight. So this battle back here, these guys following Michener are really working to his advantage.
Robbie Stanley taking over the #1 car this evening. Good battle toward the back of the pack.
Stanley, he ran a few hot laps in that #1 car of Mike Striker's. Again, Mike Striker opted not to run the 50-lap race. He didn't think he was strong enough, feeling well enough. They put Robbie Stanley in it, and Stanley's battling pretty hard. Now, when you're running this far back in the pack, these guys are back in 10th spot on back. They've got to run hard. They can't wait.
There's the red #7. Talk about taking a beating and keep on ticking, or however that old commercial goes. Licking and ticking. That's it. That was Mike Mason, that red 7. He was upside down in turn 1. They got the car righted and obviously back together.
Look at this. There goes Reeves down underneath Dryden. Dryden got around him. Reeves went down there. Now look at this.
They can't go 3 abreast. Oh, almost contact there.
I think there was a little bit of contact, and Kenneth Nichols was a clear loser on that. He was the third guy in under Kenyon, and Kenyon in turn was underneath Andy Michener. And when they all shook it out, Kenneth Nichols ended up clear back in the back of the line.
That time, Dryden looked to the inside in turn 1, and here comes Stevie Reeves. Boy, he diamond off that corner, goes to the low side, loses all of his momentum.
That's what happens when you diamond off. Even though it's a shorter distance and you gain for a short period of time, you have no momentum when you come off that corner, and the person in front usually gets the advantage. And here goes Dryden into third position. He's running pretty quick. He seems to be one of the fastest cars in that pack at this point.
13 laps now complete. This is a 50-lap USAC National Midget event from Indianapolis Raceway Park. Clark Oil Pavement Nationals. Our last chance to be with you this season on the Thunder Series. And there's a great battle in the pack. As you indicated earlier, as they continue this battle, Coletta continues to widen the lead.
That's right. Now then Stevie Reeves again tries to get under Danny Dryden. Nobody seems to be able to get around Andy Michener. Right here, he shots down. Oh, boy, he came right across the front of Stevie Reeves right there.
And he makes a move to the low side and takes second position.
He went in very hard, clearly had room to move back up in front of Andy Michener, but doesn't. He stayed pretty low coming off that corner. Now then, Stevie Reeves does the same thing. Andy Michener lost 2 positions there in one corner. He run such a good race.
There's another one right there as Kenneth Nichols goes by, and there goes Mel Kenyon. Takes a look to the inside. Mel in that black #25.
Well, Mel Kenyon moved back 4 or 5 positions. Again, I have to think that's got something to do with the heat of the tires, how they're taking care of their race cars. And look at this. Steve Reeves was just getting ready to make a move as we switched up here to Doug Coletta. Couldn't quite do it, though. We saw him pull right back in behind Danny Dryden. He's running in third position.
If we look at second, third, fourth, and fifth, there is your leader. As we pan back, you see it as a straightaway advantage, a full straightaway advantage, and there's the group, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
This could be the biggest payday of young Doug Coletta's life if he can pull this off, because he's already run the race champion, and he's got a definite advantage in this race right now. I think that Dryden and Reeves ought to concentrate on trying to get some speed.
Oh, we see some smoke coming out of Dryden's car. That's that Pontiac power plant belching some smoke, and he immediately slows down and pulls off the pace.
Yes, he definitely had some engine trouble, pulled down, and he's going to be done for the night. So now then it looks like it's going to be left up to Stevie Reeves and some of the other guys to pull in Doug Coletta.
But they're going to need a yellow, realistically. They will need a yellow to get Stevie, unless Doug gets in trouble in traffic.
And look at this. Kenneth Nichols, who was clear back as far as 6th position just a few laps ago, has come back, and he's gone around Stevie Reeves back into second spot. He didn't say die. When he got that little trouble back there, moving way to the back, he must have got his dander up a little bit, because he came right back up front in a hurry.
There's a look at Stevie Reeves. There's a look at Andy Michener and Mel Kenyon. Andy in the white #6, Mel the black #25. There is a look at your leader. He's already picked up $4,000 to win the Race of Champions. And right now, he's well on his way to collect another $5,000 to win this 50-lapper.
Yes, and as we watched Doug Coletta, we just saw Jim Mahoney pull in the pits with his car shut off, so he's out for the evening, too. But Doug Coletta seems to have things well in hand. He's a good full straightaway ahead of everybody on the racetrack. Seems to just be styling and smiling out there. No troubles at all.
Of course, I think a win here would tie him with Keeker for the wins prize money, the wins point championship.
Well, you know, like we said, there's a lot of money at stake, over $11,000, and he's certainly going to get an awfully good share of that money here tonight if he continues, if he doesn't have any trouble. And you know, barring mechanical trouble at this point, it certainly looks like it's going to be tough for him to beat.
That car has been virtually unbeatable this evening, or this season, I should say, on the pavement. That is the car built by Don Schilling with the Pontiac power plant, the engine built by Butch Meyer. And this could be his 5th victory this season. We'll come back and see if he can pull it off. We are back live at Indianapolis Raceway Park, 28 laps completed. However, you have missed nothing because it's status quo. Doug Coletta is still out in front. The only thing he's been doing the last minute and a half is lapping individuals. He just put Mike Mason a lap down, but a huge lead now, well over a straightaway for the man right there in that maroon number 22. The guy from Michigan. If he can win this one, he collects another $5,000 for the win after winning $4,000 in the Race of Champions. Let's go trackside. Dave Despain.
Danny Dryden had just moved into second spot and the car broke. What happened?
I'm not exactly sure. Something in the drive line let go, come out of gear on the back chute. Very disappointing. Car was beautiful. I was playing it real conservative at first. Those guys were dicing. They started a single file and I just picked them off. I mean, I was very conservative. I felt real good about it. I'm just really disappointed.
You said before the race that you weren't thinking about points. Now you got to think about points as you go into the rest of this season. Can you pull out this championship?
We'll see at the end. I mean, like I said earlier, I really want to focus on each race, and I don't really like the way that all the pressure's made because of the points deal. It's changed the team, all the tension and everything. I don't like it. If we won, I'd be very happy with it, but I just want to go one at a time.
We hear Mike Bliss has pulled off the racetrack. That failure cost Danny Dryden $2,500 because now Kenny Irwin Jr. will win the Simpson Challenge. Back topside.
Well, as you talk about the Simpson Challenge, we also have that Wins Extend Challenge money up for grabs. And right now, if Coletta can win it, he would tie Keeker. They would share about $950.
Pretty good payday. You know, I just want to say something about Danny Dryden. You know, I said he was kind of a cowboy in that earlier race, but I got to kind of apologize to him because everybody in that first race ran so hard with every ounce of strength and concentration they had. So I gotta say, I don't think he was any more of a cowboy than everybody else in that race because they all wanted to win that thing, and I do feel bad that he fell out of this race.
Race continues. There is Barry Reed in the blue 16 car, and there is Kenneth Nichols in the AL81.
Very competitive back in here, even though Kenneth Nichols has pulled out to a few car lengths lead over Stevie Reeves. Stevie Reeves is still running real hard, trying to catch him. And in this lap, traffic is going to be his best chance, and he knows that. But he just hasn't been able to make up much ground so far.
34 laps complete. Your leaders are working on lap 35. A guy that has been running in the 5th spot almost all races. The guy who started outside the pole, that is Mel Kenyon, black number 25.
Mel's running fast. I mean, in any other night out here, he might have been up front. But, Coletta is slowing down. Oh, my gosh, what a break.
Well, we talk about all the money he was about to win. That will not happen.
What a terrible break for Doug Coletta. I mean, he does everything. This has been the weirdest night I've ever seen. I mean, things have happened that I've never seen happen at a racetrack. Almost everybody that's been running strong has had trouble. It seems like nobody wants to win the race. I mean, earlier tonight they fell out, and now they're in look at the crowd. I mean, they can't believe it either.
There is stunned disbelief right now, and with that car in the pit area, that means that Jim Keeker would win the Wins Extend Challenge point system, and he's a spectator this evening.
Kenneth Nichols is the big recipient of the break right here as he leads the pack in that AL81 car. And look at Stevie Reeves. He knows now with Coletta in the pits that he's got a chance at that big bucks, and he's going to get some renewed strength to go after Kenneth Nichols. And Kenneth Nichols seems to be a little bit loose. As he came off of that corner, he's sliding a little bit. So we're going to find out now, with only 12 laps to go, who took the best care of their tires during the middle part of the race. Was it Reeves or was it Nichols? It's going to be a very interesting final 10 laps.
That's one of the strategies, be fast enough to be competitive and slow enough to save the equipment.
Exactly right. You know, a 50-lap race is a whole lot different than that 10-lap challenge. There's a lot of things that you have to consider, and I think that Stevie Reeves right now is slowly but surely reeling in Kenneth Nichols. This could be a real battle.
Nichols has been sliding around a lot more than Reeves has been taking care of the race car.
Well, you know, Kenneth Nichols has done a fantastic job. Let's not forget, he fell clear back to 6th position at one point in this race. And he didn't get back in the lead by sitting back there watching those guys and twiddling his thumbs. He got back in the lead by running that race car hard. And that's what he's doing right now. He's running it for everything it's worth. And at the same time, trying to keep it straight so that it'll last these last 10 laps.
These chassis owned by the Nowicki family. There's a family that's been involved in motorsports for about, what, 4 decades?
Yes, they brought a race car down here tonight, an old Curtis Craft that they've restored that A.J. Foyt won the Hut 100 in back in the 1960s. A beautiful old race car. But they didn't worry about that when they were building this great race car. They built it to win tonight. And it looks once again like he might be pulling away just a little bit.
Let's find out what happened to Doug Coletta, Dave.
Big paycheck and now one big disappointment. What happened?
Yeah, something in the rear end gave away. It just came out of, it felt like it came out of gear, and I reached down, you know, I was trying to make sure it was in gear, and it was in gear. So we'll have to take a look and see what happened with it. The Connie Coletta Schilling car was running real good.
Quick word about the emotion that you feel when that big paycheck slips through your fingers.
Just, you know, it's just a disappointment, but, you know, the car's in one piece, and, you know, so that's the main thing.
Take it in stride. That's the sign of a top-flight race driver. Doug Coletta will not win the big check tonight, but what a shootout we got shaping up, guys.
That was the word I was about to use as the laps wind down. 43 laps now complete, and there is a look at the AL81 sponsored car of Kenneth Nichols. He has won before this season. Very smooth, very accomplished on the pavement, but here comes Stevie Reeves. Reeves was probably as enthusiastic this evening as I have seen him all season long. It's not been a real good season for Stevie.
Hey, both of these guys ran hard. They were on tougher nails in that 10-lap race. I mean, they ran hard. They ran for everything they were worth. But they got in this race, and they did what they had to do. They ran smart, and they ran hard all at the same time. And it looks to me like Kenneth Nichols, and I don't want to jinx anybody after what I said with Coletta, but he's got this thing pretty well in hand because Stevie doesn't seem to be gaining on it.
5 laps to go, 4.5 laps actually to go. As he continues to move around the racetrack with no traffic to work with, and perhaps he'll be able to finish the last now 4 laps with no problems with traffic.
Yeah, and he's running that race car pretty straight. He's running it real hard. I think Kenneth Nichols, he's a smart race car driver. This guy's been around a long time. He knows what it takes to win races, and he knows what it takes to win long races. 50 laps is a long way around this racetrack, a long time. And he really has things pretty well in hand. He's got himself set. He's got a nice, smooth groove that he's running. He comes off of that race car, off of that corner, the same spot every time. And Stevie Reeves, try as he may, doesn't seem to be able to close that very much.
That's the Beast chassis out in front, the Beast chassis in second, but that's the Tony Garcia built engine powering Kenneth Nichols this evening in the AL81 car.
Yes, they kind of build this engine in their basements, they tell me. I mean, it's not a big high-dollar deal like a lot of you might think. He kind of builds it like a lot of us would do it at our home in our garages, but it runs plenty fast. And it's running plenty fast here tonight.
You don't build your son's racing engine, do you?
Well, you can get another mechanical engine.
It's a mechanical moron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Final couple of laps here as we continue to watch Kenneth Nichols, and he is about to pick up a sizable payday because $5,000 will freeze his bomb in 1 lap if he can hang on with the Nowicki-owned the Beast with the Fontana engine, and a half lap to go as he watched the green and white car. Whatever happened to the old adage of green was unlucky in motorsport?
I don't know, but he's never going to believe that. The money they're going to give him tonight is going to be green, and he's going to be happy to see it.
There he comes. No traffic to contend with. Double checkered flags, and there's the crew. Mike, Bob Nowicki, obviously very ecstatic, a big payday, but more importantly, a big victory. It's not just the money, it's the satisfaction of winning here at Raceway Park before a national television audience.
And knowing that you beat some of the best race car drivers in the world. I mean, these guys are tough, and look how happy he is, man. You know, I've known him for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen him that happy. You know, with fists in the air, shaking his fist, man, that's neat. Because he's tried a long time to win a really big race. He's won a lot of races, but I don't think any have been as big as this one.
Well, he's normally pretty sedate, but not this evening. Let's go trackside.
One of the legendary owners and builders in this game is Bob Nowicki. I don't know who gets the credit on this car, you or your son?
My son, but he works. Mike and I, we work together on this. I have a tough time with Mike, but he listened tonight.
You guys earned the money tonight. Congratulations to you. Go to Victory Lane.
We earned it. Thank you, Dave. Thanks again for ESPN and the shows that they put on all summer. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Bob Nowicki and his son Mike have built the car that broke the track record here for 50 laps. We'll go trackside and talk to the winner right after this. Well, the party is underway in Victory Circle here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The Pavement Nationals, our history, and Kenneth Nichols has won it. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, Dave. You thank the Lord the thing was working perfection all night long. Mike Nowicki had me dialed in, and hell, ain't one beast was flying.
They were counting down the laps over there. They were a little bit nervous after all the difficulties. Of course, Drinan falling out while he was second, and Kalita falling out while he was leading the race. Do you start thinking, oh, man, am I next?
Well, I wasn't sure how big of a lead we had. I had a guy in the pits give me a big signal, but every time we get in the corners, all the flashlights would go off, so I thought somebody's right on my bumper making a pass. Well, I have no idea how much we won it by, but we won it. That's what counts.
That's what matters, and obviously you won it by being in the right place at the right time. But early on, you guys had a real traffic jam to fight your way through there.
That was great racing. We was nose to tail, and I thought I could make a move, and I got down there, and I lost 2 spots, and we was back and forth. It looked like a NASCAR race, sitting in the seat, everybody drafting each other's fun.